A flyer that has to sell the show within the confines of the fact that we have to use a specific logo that comes from the royalty holders, the really useful company. So we are relatively restricted immediately, we can't do our own lettering. But I was adamant I didn't want photographs. I did not want photographic images.
Of course, told him I don't want to do, I want to do something completely and utterly different.
As always, I got ignored.
I told him my idea.
Quite used to that, really.
A photo which was kind of, you know, Jesus ascending into heaven. We see Mary and what's his face, Judas, either side.
I said, right, let's have a look then at some photographic images. We did a photo shoot.
I was informed that we were having a quick, emphasis on quick, photo shoot about for the poster,
which was a fairly long couple of hours, as we had individual people to then marry in with the main image. Mary.
So just had our photographs done for the flyers and the programme, which is quite exciting.
Judas.
Hey, yeah, I'm Chris. I play Judas.
And Jesus are on the poster.
Yeah, so Chris and Georgie were finished relatively quickly and had left when I had the truly arduous job of having to exert so much energy in lying there in the sun with my shirt off, having people paint me with this liquid latex.
Ah, that wound, yes.
So that was with latex, liquid latex.
Well, in the story, as I'm sure everyone is aware, Jesus gets stabbed in the here, lower abdomen, by a centurion, just to show that he's dead at the very end. And so I really wanted to show this in the flyer.
I was asked to come and give a helping hand, some of us and assistant, I suppose.
Which basically involved having Nathan to stand extremely still and then lie extremely still.
This involved Richie having to use a paintbrush and liquid latex and get Nathan semi-naked and pour it all over him. Wait for it to dry and then pour another bit all over him.
We did discuss actually stabbing me with a spear.
This awful goo stuff was applied in layers.
Me and
Then once a kind of a layer had been formed over his skin, I had to cut that layer away from his skin to create this wound.
So we went with the liquid latex and Richie cutting it open with this scalpel.
The documentation of the kidney removal of Nathan Farrell.
Whoa! See, it was rather sharp. And yeah, sure, the first couple of ones were okay, and then I saw the big blades of scissors, and it's a bit like I feel when you're on an anaesthetic, but you can't say anything, but you could see it happening, because all I saw was Richie's tools getting bigger and bigger, coming down towards me. As much as I love him, clumsy is sort of in his nature, and I kind of need my kidney.
Richie asked me to help with the makeup side of the stab wound, which was fairly simple, just involved a little bit of flesh coloured foundation to blend in the clear liquid latex into Nathan's skin. I think I did a fairly decent job, it not being something I've done before, but we'll see.
It reminded me a lot of the time that I was playing Hamlet. When I was playing Hamlet, and at this point I just happened to mention, just want to name drop that I played Hamlet, and then was, very reluctantly forced to recount all the different parts that I have played over the years. When I played Angel in Red, I didn't want to. When I played Charles in Rome, but they were literally begging me. When I played Paul in Kiss Me Kate, some people might call it name dropping.
When I played Scrabble this one.
Other people feel like you're. I personally feel like I was sharing my experience with the people at the time.
That loincloth.
That loincloth.
A loincloth.
How many people does it take to put on a loincloth? 4 of us. About an hour.
It was a nappy. It was not a loincloth, okay? It was a huge nappy.
It's a nappy, basically. It's a giant, giant nappy.
I have to say, it ended up looking a little bit like a nappy.
Which involved a lot of staples and hairpins and scissors and I think a little bit of pain for Nathan, but he kept all his genitals and both legs. So yeah, I think it was a success.
And then lots and lots and lots of blood to make it look as if he's really been through a bad time.
So yeah, obviously he's been crucified, right? He is covered in blood and covered in guts and everything. So I had to mix up this horrible stuff for him.
He basically made muddy water, which then was poured into my wound and all down my side.
With a dropper, so that we could get the streaks or the effect of the streaks from the crown of thorns coming down, and also just the blood dripping down.
And then he made more consistency blood, which tasted like sugar, just tasted like sugar, which I assume is the golden syrup part.
So he had to stand there in his lighting, and I literally, with a dropper, had to put it on his forehead and let it drip all the way down.
So I effectively just stood there and just felt it pouring down my face, and for some reason he did it out of here, and it sort of congealed here, and it was all everywhere.
To create this kind of effect from the crown of thorns and everything, and then quite a lot coming out of the wound as well.
Yeah, it was disgusting in a word. Really disgusting in 2. Totally, really disgusting in 3. I could go on.
At the very end, Nathan decided he wanted to go home.
But feeling that my trials that day had not been enough, I decided to grace Halsey with a mere glimpse of how good the show is going to be.
Much to the horror of passing Halsey inhabitants.
So nappy in hand, well actually on rather than in hand, I decided to walk blood covered and sandalless from the theatre to this person's house.
So yeah, the thing about latex is it forms an airtight seal against your skin. I mean, literally, it moulds itself to your skin, and because there's no air bubbles, if you put it on properly, it strikes on tight.
It was hilarious.
Which is absolutely fantastic when you're creating wounds and so on, but not when you're taking it off. So let's just see what this does. It hurts a lot. Right, one last pull.
Crucifying is easier than that. What do you mean that's only a little bit? And I think that would be pretty much sums it up perfectly.
Okay, so we come to Monday, which is the day of putting the flyer together, which on paper I guess could have been a couple of hours.
10 hours.
But as usual wasn't.
10 hours it took me, just about.
Richie had chosen the images he wanted to use, and I was in total agreement with Judas and Mary. It will probably come as no great shock that I was not in any sort of agreement with the image that he wanted as Jesus.
I first of all stood there in the night fever pose, but that was apparently not Jesus Christ enough. So we then went for the ascending out of the cross almost, so like I'm sort of stretching out of the traditional cross into like a sort of arrow upwards almost.
Now of course the photo which I wanted to use, Stevie didn't.
There was an image with an expression that I thought was absolutely perfect, and it will probably again come as no surprise that Richie didn't. He thought that was possibly the worst of the images. So we had a little toing and froing on the phone. Luckily enough, I was in the theatre at the time, and there were lots of people wandering around. So as we were on the phone, I did a straw poll by asking everybody to come up, look at the 2 images and decide what they preferred, and the entire consensus was that indeed my choice was the best.
So after all that, after cutting him out once, I had to cut him out all over again, and eventually the image that we decided on didn't have the wound or the nappy.
What? I'm gonna f*** with you, Richie.
And eventually he came back with the almost finished product. Oh wow.
Richie, it's really great, it's really good. That is pretty good. Oh my god. Flippin' epic.
Oh wow. And I have to say, and this is where he gloats, because yes, I was wrong.
I'm really pleased with it, you know, the effect that it's got. I hope everyone likes it.
It works absolutely perfectly. It is stunning. Everybody that has seen it so far that have had a preview have all said the same thing, that it really is stunning. People will look. It tells you what the whole story is about. I mean, if you didn't know the story, highly unlikely. But it's wonderful. It's a great flyer. I'm very proud of him and it.